You're listening to the Unlocking Africa podcast.
I trained originally as a lawyer, also have further studies in public policy, and practiced for a while and advised companies. I branched out with my co-founders to set up a company called XchangeBox. From reading about what you're doing or reading about the barriers from a field perspective, people who are policymakers or interested partners can actually take action with it, because then they have a construct to work with. We have a barber in a community. We give them access to be able to do collections and payments as an SME trader. And this guy went from having just one barber shop to having about three.
Stay tuned as we bring you inspiring people who are unlocking Africa's economic potential. You're listening to the Unlocking Africa podcast with your host, Tessa Adamu.
Welcome to the Unlocking Africa podcast, where we find inspirational people who are doing inspirational things to unlock Africa's economic potential. Today, we have Abiola Jimoh, who is co-founder, co-CEO of XchangeBox, a company that facilitates a marketplace for agrocommodity financing, both for local trade and export. Welcome to the podcast, Abiola. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm doing great. It's great to be here.
Fantastic. It's great to have you here as well. Where are you currently today?
Oh, I'm in Morocco today. Very nice weather. Africa is beautiful.
It is indeed. I know we've spoken before and you've listened to the podcast. As usual, I like to get straight to it. So I was hoping you could introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about Abiola.
All right, thank you. My name is Abiola Jimoh, and I trained originally as a lawyer and also have further studies in public policy, and practiced for a while and advised companies. I branched out with my co-founders to set up a company called XchangeBox as a startup focused on agrocommodity financing and SMEs trading, both locally and for exports. It's been about 3-4 years now that we started, and it's been a great journey with apparent challenges and successes along the way. Thank you.
I can imagine. And I look forward to discussing those challenges and journeys that you've experienced so far. So what was the actual catalyst or the inspiration behind starting XchangeBox?
We, prior to now, worked, myself and my co-founder, a mobile money company called TZ Mobile, where we have opportunity beyond sitting behind the desk to go to the field to see what a common trader in the agro sector goes through. And we see a lot of opportunity and a lot of ways to help them do better. So around 2019, we branched out of our different companies and started XchangeBox together. First, with the mandate to support SMEs, just basic traders, to do their trading better, have more room for accounting, easier way of collecting payments. Eventually, we saw a lot of potential and opportunities in the agro-commodity sector. My co-founder is a very deep-rooted person in operations, ground-to-ground work. Myself, I'm deep-rooted in looking at strategy and policy, looking at operational process, and imagine that energy and experiences together. We found out that we indeed need to provide a solution that enable people not just to have so much harvest of their produce, but give them room to trade, and give them room to trade by having a marketplace enabled by technology where the buyer can reach them and the seller can sell their commodities for good value. And making that exchange happens, of course, makes us happy together. And that's the reason for what we call XchangeBox today, a box to enable trading from the local farmer, from the local SME trader, to either someone that wants to export or someone that wants to consume or refine locally in Nigeria.
You mentioned that you saw opportunities in the agro space, but what was it specifically that inspired you to focus on financial inclusion, especially for SMEs, farmers in the rural communities in northern Nigeria?
First of all, like I said, we've worked in the industry for a couple of years, so we've seen what they go through. We also see that we would be helping a lot of people solve problems around financial inclusion, digitize records of financing, giving them access to credit, and alongside introducing other basic services they need to live a better life if we give them opportunity to first earn from what they do. Without any capacity, they cannot do much for themselves. These are people that have families who depend on them. They have siblings who depend on them. They have a community that believe and depend on them. Of course, these are where they farm. These are where they trade. So we then decided that we can create an aggregator model where people help them aggregate their produce, help them aggregate what they farmed, and help them introduce it to our marketplace. These are, when we say the aggregators, these are people who have some basic education to be able to list the items the farmers have farmed and say, hey guys, this is available for trade, and this is how you can pick it up and all that. And this is the basic cost price. With being able to do that, we are expanding the opportunities for sales. They produce so much and they can't consume it. We've been to Benue State in Nigeria. There's a lot of farming activity going there. We've been to Katsina. If you've been to Kebbi, you see a lot of paddy rice in all the states I've mentioned. Paddy rice are the raw, harvested rice before you process it into fine rice, either long grains or short grains. We also see a lot of opportunity potential for yam from Benue, a couple of other products, oranges from Benue as well. And talk about Taraba as well. There are lots of fine products, beans, and there are lots of other things. And these are things they cannot consume alone locally. They need to sell it. And trade barriers needs to be removed if we want a better trading. Using technology to do listing, using technology to introduce them to buyers from across Nigeria and outside Nigeria, possibly for exports. We are not just only helping them, we're also exposing them to new streams of revenue. And it's been a fulfilling journey as well.
You touched on using technology. I know we were introduced for your contribution to a chapter in the Lagos Business School book, which is called Thrive, Mastering E-commerce the African Way. I was wondering, how did that collaboration come about?
One of the basic way you can really change the narrative in Africa or any part of the world is to put down your experiences and some of the challenges in a written document, such that from reading about what you're doing or reading about the barriers from a field perspective, people who are policymakers or interested partners can actually take action with it, because then they have a construct to work with. When the publication for Lagos Business School came up to show what we're doing using e-commerce and looking at the barriers, especially from regulatory and policy angle, I saw that as an opportunity to tell our story, to tell people about what we do from a practical point of action, and also suggest some of the things that can be done better, and not just from research based on textbooks, research based on the work we actually do. It's a very exposing experience to having to tell things from not just Nigeria, but what we've seen across Africa, because Africa incidentally have clear challenges but similar issues, limiting our capacity to achieve full potential. And those are issues of policies, of regulation, multiple regulations, unharmonized, regulation, barriers of entry that we created for no reason that we feel can be better, and that was explored through the topic I addressed in the chapter, the Lagos Business on Thrive. Thank you.
Fantastic. So you're touching on your chapter, which was titled Regulatory Challenges, Remedies and Strategies for Building Africa's Sustainable E-commerce Startups. What was the key message you wanted to share in that chapter?
Okay, the key messages shared, or which I intend to share. First of all, what are these businesses in Africa that are, focused on e-commerce? What are the challenges they go through, country by country, or certain examples of countries? What are the issues that led to some of them that have failed? Why did they fail? And I found out that a lot of issues leading to failure of these startups are not just about investments, are not even about non-availability of the market, because, of course, we have lots of people over Africa that need services, but it's regulatory challenges, multiple regulatory complexities, multiple taxes complexities, not so very easy entry model, and non-categorization of businesses in an appropriate way to be able to ease experimentation to grow. I touch on a couple of companies that have failed, why they failed. I touch on things that can be done better from regulatory perspective by government. Things that can also be done better by even the founders of these startups themselves, from being more accountable to doing more research, to experimenting properly before raising a lot of funds so that you don't waste investors' money or you don't make investors feel Africa is not the right place to invest, So those are the issues I touched upon indeed.
You mentioned regulatory complexities that impact the ability for businesses to operate and provide their services. I know with regards to what you're doing at XchangeBox, one of the things that you prioritize is payments, collections, health insurance, also pensions and microcredit. How did you come about to decide what areas to prioritize?
Okay. Our areas of priority depends on what the customer is asking for. Everything we've done or built at XchangeBox, it depends on who are the customers, what do they need, what are their pain points, and how can we address these pain points for them. You cannot be providing services that people do not need. So that's been a major determinant of the services we provide. And at every point in time, we provide a service, we try to improve the quality of the service, we try to make better the user experience or user journey, such that especially we're catering to a segment that is a bit neglected, a segment that need proper counseling and education about why they need the service, how better they can use the service, and what improvement of quality of life it brings to them. So we rely a lot on people called aggregators network. Aggregators network are like local canvassers who more or less explain our services to people. So they are like indirectly our staff. Now, if you look at this volume of people, we have over 3,000 people in this segment of our company, whom we call aggregators and agents, who extend our services. So a farmer would not list their products on your platform. They need someone to say, oh, why should I trust this platform? Would I get my money? If they just bring some people to say, okay, there's a value chain for them to sell their product here, why should they trust, So they need to find a local guy they can trust, reliable. So we're dealing with people with a lot of integrity. You see the moving parts I was talking about.
Yes.
And sometimes those are the challenge, And I found out that it's better to grow that way in Africa to build a sustainable model. You can't just dump technology on people. You need technology and people to work together if you want to bring something sustainable in Africa.
I agree. As you mentioned, you provide services based on the customer's needs. So with regards to the customer's needs and delivering those services, how do you measure the real impact of those services on whether it's small traders or farmers?
Okay. Impact measurement, it's a baseline assessment of what was and what it is now. So for example, you need to then factor in, prior to our services being available, how many users do we have? What was their model of engagement to use health insurance, to use access financing? I'll give you an example. A lot of our users don't even have any basis to go to bank to access financing for their short-term trading. These are trading that takes just a week sometimes because they just need money to buy raw commodities from the local markets and take it to the dealers who deliver it to the factories. You see the middlemen that we finance. These are people who cannot go to bank and say, hey guys, I need to take facility of maybe less than $1,000 to say I want to just use it to buy these commodities and then go with it. And it's also hard for us. We then need to rely on aggregators, people who know what they're doing, you can trust, who can vouch for them, and do what they call group lending in a way, which is we give this facility to this guy, but all of you in this group ensure that this guy pays. Otherwise, none of you is getting more money from us, or all of you are liable for it. It's a model that has worked or is working. There are some NPL around it, non-performance of loans around it, or financing around it, but very minimal because it's a group model. So they cannot go to bank to ever get this kind of credit. They come to us, we extend this credit to them. They finance the trade, and the more they perform, the more they have better return on our system, the more they can access more money. And then the more we can document records of some financial records for them, because we operate with a microfinance bank. The microfinance bank then can have these records to begin to extend credit to them. And they've been able to enjoy these services. They've been able to see how life-changing it is. So it's like you have empowered them to know that they can trade and have access to finance as well, and grow their trading from the basic, just 2 baskets, 3 baskets of oranges or yams they can go and buy in the communities and trade, to doing bags and bags and bags, to up to buying a truck for themselves. So we measure the impact from where were they before us, where are they now? I'll give you an example. We have a barber in a community. He's just a guy that has a barbing salon. He barbs people. But we give them an access to be able to do collections and payments as an SME trader. And this guy went from having just one barber shop to having about three. It's a popular story on our case. We always showcase him. In Nasarawa State, in the area, he became like a champion because he's able to get an opportunity from people that from a platform like ours, And we're not just the only one doing this. A lot of other platforms are doing this across Nigeria, across Africa. But we're proud about what we're doing, and we've seen practically moving from one point to the other for these traders, for these farmers, for these middlemen who trade in the agro sector. And it's been very, very exciting. Of course, not without its challenges, but it's very exciting to see these points as a way to measure the impact we're making on people. Thanks.
With positive impact comes growth. With your growth, you're seeing high transaction volumes daily. So what operational or tech innovations have you used to enable you to scale efficiently?
Okay, so we are heavy on tech, but heavy on human as well. We make the two go side by side. So operational tech process for us is the same. We have a mobile application on the phone. We have a hardware for payments. It's called point of sale terminal. And we have a web-based where the major big buyers of the agro-commodities are able to, have a dashboard to not only source their commodities, but also track it. Technology is fantastic, but it fails. So we still rely on a lot of people speaking to each other to ensure these processes go through well. So the web mobile app or, all this technology we use is sort of a tracking system for us to make the process smoother, remove minimally the human interaction as much as possible. But I'm telling you for a fact at our experimentation level so far, that it's hard to just rely on technology, especially in Africa where we're dealing with a lot of infrastructural issues, that we still rely heavily on human capacity to make calls, which is still using technology to make the calls anyway, make calls to speak to each other, to sometimes travel down to communities to ensure these processes go smoothly. But technology has been fantastic for us. Our user base started with just about 40 people in 2020, just before COVID, to managing over 3,000, to currently managing over 15,000 registered users with an active month-on-month rate of about 40% of that number. And we still hope to grow more and grow beyond just Nigeria as well, to domesticate the model across different communities to make people have better opportunities and also make impact in people's lives. Thank you.
You mentioned the web-based platform, obviously the need for in-person interaction, the agent model as well. But if we look at the regulatory side, how have regulations shaped or restricted your capacity to operate?
Regulation, it's a plus and a minus for us. Regulation sets standards of what to do and how to do it and gives people confidence about the platform they're dealing with. We have a mix where a platform that has a mix of both agri-technology or agri-services with payment. So we're kind of very, right? But regulation impacts our growth because we are unable to expand beyond Nigeria as fast as we want to, because we need to then get to Ghana and find a regulatory compliance process, get licensed, let me give you an example. To own a business as a Nigerian in Ghana, it's very hard, except you're bringing a lot of money for a startup funder. It's very hard because you then mostly probably need to find a local in Ghana to join your team or make an investment of certain threshold of amounts before, for an African, Africa to Africa, before you can establish a business. In Morocco, for example, where I'm now, you can also make an investment in Morocco, set up a business. But setting up a business in Morocco, it's just like whether you're a Shell, for example, which is a multinational, or you're a startup. There's no startup act or startup regulatory issues that say, oh, you're a startup. So the standards of compliance expected of you is minimal compared to other parts of other kind of business. So there's no differentiation, for example, in Morocco. Morocco has this saying that to start a business is easy, to close is hard, because every year you are expected to contribute as a business a certain threshold of amounts. And when you're closing your business, you need to pay for all those years. whether you're profitable or not. So those regulatory barriers limit entry. In Cote d'Ivoire, it's hard also to establish a business alone without having a local who join, whether they buy into your mission or not. So as an African, I can't just say, oh, Africa is my home, unlike what you have in other parts of the world or other continents. I can say Africa is my home, and I can establish or try opportunities out in as many countries as possible in Africa. There's so many peculiar issues, challenges. Even if you have a very genuine interest to do business and make impacts in lives of people, Africa does not have this confluence of a one-place shop, a one-stop shop that make it easy for African to African to trade or establish businesses, to grow your businesses.
So keeping on the theme of market strategies, I know you've mentioned a range of markets and some of the complexities and regulatory issues. But if we focus back on Nigeria, are there any specific strategies that you have found effective or useful for helping you to expand within the rural markets in Nigeria?
In Nigeria, to grow rural business, you need people more than you need technology. It's the same model that every other business you've seen grow on a man-to-man model as used. Let me give you an example. There's a business that I like to cite the example, Farm Milk. Farm Milk as a model, they built $1 billion business in Nigeria using bicycles, people that use bicycles, to put the small crate in front and ride the bicycles from every community. And you buy it for less than $1, $2, less than maybe cents, 50 cents sometimes, depending on the size you want, to be able to enjoy, a good ice cream, or farm milk, or, some sort of yogurt for every kid. All of us went through this process as a kid. These businesses have survived years and years and years and still standing. It's the same model. So to grow a business in Nigeria, in rural, you need people. And that's why a mix of technology and using agents. Agents are individuals in communities who canvas, who talk about your business, someone people can trust, somebody reliable. So technology agent serves as a second handle of being able to document records. Technology also serves as the way a channel for you, a channel through which they consume the services or they make the services happen. But your key entry road is the people. So from the perspective of a business model we have run in Nigeria so far, we find the people more reliable, people more important in our channel than any other thing. Thank you.
You emphasize the point that you need people more than technology. So how do you localize your services for different regions whilst also trying to maintain the brand integrity or their brand identity within those different regions?
Are you talking about Africa or in Nigeria?
Maybe just in Nigeria.
Okay, in Nigeria, what has worked for us, like I said, is we've used an entry model where we appoint. You put it on your website, you put it everywhere that you're looking for canvassers, agents, creators who can, and in return for extending your service, they earn commission. So it's a shared earn revenue, right? So that they see value from what they're doing as well for you. But what you do is you put a standard of performance, which is you don't give us the result we want within a certain threshold of time without any major serious challenge coming from us. You then find a replacement. And Nigeria is a population of millions of people, over 200 million people, young people in the demographics looking for opportunities. A lot of people are actually looking for opportunities for genuine, legitimate need that can make them, go through things. And this is an opportunity as much as it looks like a problem. So an opportunity then to find the right people, experiment with a couple and find the right people for your business, to advance your growth. Just have certain level of performance you can manage, you can measure. Of course, without overlooking your challenges, there'll be challenges of some people not performing to standards, sometimes resources and time wasted. But then there's a cost of doing business in this part of the world till we get it right. So like I said, it's a lot heavily on people. People are your first primary way of getting anything done. And technology just become your enabler for doing it better. Thank you.
From the experience that you've gained over the years, what advice would you give to other founders who are trying to expand their products within rural communities in, say, Nigeria?
Yeah, okay. And the experience I can share is you need to be consistent. You need to be ready for the hard work. You need to go to the field. You need to see what they go through, the experiences they go through using your product. You need to become a real person yourself for you to see whether your solution is the right thing for them in that community. You can practically not do anything or expand to a community sitting behind your desk in Lagos or Abuja and expecting to deliver a process or a product to people in my community, Ejibo in Osun State, or people in my partners, or everyone's community, either in Plateau or Benue or Katsina or, Umaya or Owerri or somewhere. You need to find people that have practical experiences in these areas. As much as possible, you need to also be involved in the process. It takes the community to grow the community. That's what I've learned so far. Thank you.
Brilliant. I know from a previous conversation that we had, you mentioned that obviously, as we all know, Africa is a big continent, but we've never been very intentional about creating a synergized e-commerce framework. I was wondering if you could talk us through that in terms of what would that synergized framework ideally look like?
Okay. First of all, Africa have peculiar similar issues. Africa is also a continent that is yet to discover its own strengths, all right? A lot of people, young people, agile, very dynamic people, which is an opportunity in the real sense of it. But we create so much barriers from the start point of, we don't even have a common currency. And you go to the European Union, they're sure you spend euros. And because you're spending euros, you don't have to worry about when I go to Estonia, or I go to Sweden, or I go to Finland, or I go to Germany, I'm looking for their local currencies to spend. A serious barrier to entry, right? So, and because they spend similar money, their financial regulatory system is speaking to one another because it's similar money they spend, same money they spend it. That's one. Two is regulations, sort of an umbrella regulation that governs the whole of the European Union, which is what we don't have in Africa. We have the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, AFCFTA, which represents an ambitious political vision, but it's so far been a very, very difficult implementation process. And this is because 55 member states, it's not a joke across Africa, right? But we need to find a way. We need to be intentional about what are the key things that will drive trade among us. Regulatory policy that unite us, currency issues that can give an umbrella spending capacity to our people when they are within Africa. I'm in Morocco. Morocco has dirhams to spend, and the next favored currency is euros to spend as well because they're very close to Europe, right? Which means for me, coming with Naira, it becomes a problem. I need to first find euros from my country or here before coming in. It already limits my ability to do a lot of things, right? I have to worry about the spending currencies and all that to do anything at all. It also has, like I said, peculiar issues about different ways of establishing businesses. We need to be intentional. We talk about trade routes in terms of transportation across Africa, but these are big issues. These are big, costly infrastructure issues. But there's basic things like currency, basic things like harmonized regulations, basic things like focusing on enabling our startup ecosystem, for example, to have a one-stop shop to say, hey guys, come to any part of Africa. You're a startup, you have an idea. We have an umbrella, a sandbox for you to come in, and you can establish in any part of Africa without so much regulatory barrier. Once a guy that a young man or a young person that wants to do business to use technology to drive change across Africa, you're welcome to be part of this. And these kind of opportunities are the only way we can truly grow Africa, truly be relevant in Africa, truly facilitate trade in Africa. We have a very robust fishery, market in Africa that is still underexploited to date. We have agricultural produce heavy in Africa with serious post-harvest loss, because over 46% because of storage systems. This is a basic problem we can start fixing, under our harmonized regulation, with or without any major barrier around infrastructure yet, And those are things that I think we should begin to take serious immediately. And not face the big ones yet, face the basic ones and start taking it one step at a time. And that way you can be seen to be serious and you truly want to make a change in your continent. Thank you.
You touched on the need of collaboration. So if you look at it specifically from a payment platform, fintech perspective, how do you think African fintechs can better collaborate across borders to build that shared infrastructure?
A lot of fintechs have indeed expanded across. You see Flutterwave, you see Paystack, who are both unicorns. They've grown indeed across Africa. But I mean, just find out how long it took them, regulation to regulation, to move from one country to the other. And these are companies that are not just small companies. They've raised money well enough. They've been invested by major investors across the world. They've done fantastic solution drive across Africa, across the different parts of where they operate. And they still need to wait tons of months to get licensed from one country to the other. Now, then imagine a small guy trying to drive a business that rely on payments or rely on one thing or the other, and he's trying to drive it fast across Africa. That guy is going to probably have the idea die before it takes off, So there's need, like you said, for not just fintechs collaborating among themselves, but government collaborating with fintechs, creating an opportunity, a sandbox, like I used again. A sandbox to say, hey guys, we truly genuinely want ideas that can drive Africa, not just Nigeria or Ghana or Senegal or Cameroon, which is West, or just Morocco, Tunisia, Libya, not just an idea that drives some parts of Africa, but an idea that unifies us, that truly solves our problem common to us, whether it has fintech element or agri-tech element or software as a service element or any form of element it has in. This is a sandbox we created. Let your ideas work, and governments are working together to support this, which is if you launch a service, you can work on it across any part of Africa. And just by having one permit on any of those ideas, it can allow you to launch your service multiple times in many of the parts of Africa as much as you want. Check out how that will accelerate growth. And it's done in a controlled environment. So it's not like it's done in such a way that, it's enabling crime because the guys can go free as they want. It's in a controlled environment. It's a sandbox, experimented and experimented upon before you actually launch it for public consumption. It cuts the time it takes to launch a business peculiar and uniform to the whole of Africa. It also cuts the time to accelerate your growth. It also makes it truly a business that can provide solution across Africa with very minimal barrier entry for anyone interested in such venture. And with this kind of opportunity, you're unlocking potential, you're unlocking wealth indeed for not just one part of Africa or the other, but the whole of Africa together.
With this in mind, are there any new trends or emerging tech that you're exploring or already using at XchangeBox that you're excited about?
I mean, one of the things we are quite looking forward to is to drive a marketplace, a proper marketplace for beyond local trading for exports. You should be able to sit in London and you desire certain kind of products from Africa such that you can transport from Africa and move to London or move to any part of Europe or America. And you can request for such commodities and not only pay for it. When you pay for it, you escrow funds with us, for example, and not just in Nigeria, any part of Africa, you escrow funds with us. And upon the delivery of the item to you, you can get your clear to release. Of course, it's a tracking system. We track it to be sure it has been delivered, and we can release the funds to the people that are supplying the products. And you can also rate the quality of the products and make recommendations for others. So that's a big item we're working on. We hope to be able to launch this, as a provider under XchangeBox or under some of our subsidiaries. But it's something we're excited about. It's like we're bringing Africa to the world, and we're giving the world opportunity to access any form of products from Africa as well. It's a lot of challenges, a lot of harmonizations, a lot of break unit works, but it's something we want to do because we are really all about exposing Africa to the world for good and making people know that there's more to Africa than just earth and water streams, that people normally talk about, or just seeking charitable cause all over the world. Thank you.
Fantastic. So if we move from current trends and look to the future, if we revisit this conversation in 5 to 10 years from now, what do you hope would have been achieved with regards to whether it's payments, collections, and SME farmer support in Africa?
Okay, our hope is that an African farmer has opportunity to earn fully for the capacity of his work, his or her work, either to trade locally or to trade in the export markets, have a decent earnings from the work they do. They do a lot of work, by the way. They put in a lot of grit, they put in a lot of belief and, hoping that their planting will bring the right out. And at the end of doing all that, barring climate changes and weather disruptions, they need to earn well for the services they provide and for the products they give to the market, they bless the world with. And it's indeed our aspiration that we'll be able to provide an opportunity for them to earn value for what they do and make their families benefit better from it and change the dynamics for Africa as well while doing that.
And if we look closer to home, what's your vision for XchangeBox over the next 5 years, especially in terms of expanding across different African markets?
We want XchangeBox to provide an opportunity for people beyond just Nigeria, for people beyond Nigeria, to go to all parts of Africa as much as we can. We want to empower people that work in the rural SMEs, which make the informal sector, and this is the biggest sector in Africa. For facts, we want to be able to empower them to do more, give them the right access to financing, local financing, unlocking local financing to finance our trading. I want to create an opportunity for people to invest in a system and earn value for their investments. We want young people to be gainfully engaged through employment opportunities, and all this we believe is possible. We've been on this journey for a while. We believe in what we're doing, very comfortable that believing in our journey, believing in Africa is the right step for us to unlock wealth, unlock success, and make impact along the way.
Quote of the week.
As people, we often have quotes, mantras, African proverbs, or affirmations that keep us going when times are challenging or when times are good. Do you have one that you can share with us today?
Okay. There's a popular proverb in Africa that says that if you have a need do not use it for your own benefits, let everyone benefit from it. The implication is that, what this implies is that we are Africans. We have the resources to grow our own home. Let's do less with pushing the problems to anyone. Fix our own problems, face it, and face it squarely. This you're doing is a way of facing our problems as well, Mr. Tessie, and we need to commend you for it, for the insight you provide, not just to Africans, but to the whole world. We face our problems, we fix it with our own O, and ensure that we solve our problem so that the support we need from every part of the world can be easily handed to us, rather than begging for it. Thank you.
Fantastic way to close today's conversation. Abiola, it's been a real pleasure having you on the podcast today. Your work at XchangeBox is definitely a blueprint for what's possible when technology meets people and meets purpose. So thank you for sharing your knowledge and experience, and it's been great having you on the show today.
Thank you very much. It's been an amazing time as well. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone who has listened and stayed tuned to the podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share, or tell a friend about it. You can also rate, review us in Apple Podcasts or wherever you download your podcast. Thank you, and see you next week for the Unlocking Africa podcast.